Thanks for the invite, man. Appreciate it.
Okay, so we had a bit of recording issues there for a minute, but we're back. So Igor is I came across Igor's YouTube channel when I was researching the other side, and he has done a real deep dive, a few really deep dives on the other side, and both of us are extremely excited about the other side. So that's why I kind of invited him to come on. He's one of the experts, if you like. So
I guess it's one of the few really interesting projects. So I mean, there's
exactly. So
there's just not a lot to look at.
Yeah, so Igor was saying he wasn't super interested in the profile picture craze, and we kind of got talking about gaming in general, and Igor was kind of explaining his background in gaming and how his interests brought him into the NFT space. So if you wouldn't mind, maybe we can I'll ask you about like your interest in gaming, and then actually how you got involved in crypto and NFTs in particular.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
So I think it just makes sense to say that it's just really connected, right? I think if you're a gamer, it's really easy to understand the concept of NFTs. Doesn't mean you need to love them. It just makes sense, right? Digital property, right? You kind of need to have a relationship to digital items in order to appreciate digital property. So
I don't even think if it's necessarily just gaming. Just like you were saying, like just young people in general are just more used to, like we've only really used digital money. Like everyone, our previous generations was mainly cash, all that kind of thing. Like digital property is very like intuitive for us. Like
it's funny. Like my dad laughs if I only go out with like my phone, and he's like, "Where's your wallet?"
Yeah, exactly.
Still some places that don't take it, but so yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Also, the whole social media thing, right? That entire point of it's just a line of code on the blockchain. Instagram followers is the same, it's just a number, an arbitrary number that people value. And it's digital, and it lives on some server, right? This is like a decentralized server, but it's the same thing, and people can value that. Like it's obvious to a lot of us, but people that didn't grow up with it, it just hits different. So yeah, background in gaming. Maybe I'll just quickly rehash. So all the people I know that played Pokemon get NFTs instantly. Because it's kind of, it's the same DNA, right? Same with trading card games. If you play trading card games, you understand that a piece of cardboard with some writing on it that somebody ascribed value to has some real world monetary value. And not just that, also emotional. I used to play like Yu-Gi-Oh! Lightly, competitively. And I kept a lot of the cards just like as a token of, the good old times, as a memory, I guess. And then when this came along and when I got into crypto, you first kind of stumble around and look at the different parts and get into the topics that kind of everyone is, I guess. But then at a certain point, you kind of have to find your home, at least to be successful at some level. You can't just do everything. It's too much.
Yeah.
100%. And it wasn't even a question. As soon as I stumbled across NFTs, it was like, this is what I've been doing all my youth. I kind of lost it, growing into an adult and everything. But yeah, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. And it lets me reconnect with something that made sense to me as a kid, made sense to me as a teenager. And now as a grown up, I get to do the same thing. But, now money is involved. So I guess it's like a grown up game. But yeah. And so I'll bring it all the way back to Otherside, where that is like the one thing that really hit the home for me, because it incorporates elements of MMORPG. It implements the whole NFT thing, which connects to the trading cards and Pokemon, and it actually delivers something unique. And that's cool to me, like stuff that hasn't been here 2 or 3 years ago. That's why I got super interested in it, and that's why I created a lot of content around it. So it just came super naturally.
Yeah, so like the first time you saw NFTs, you were just interested straight away? Because the first time I saw NFTs, like I was buying crypto for a few years, and was investing in stocks for a long time. So the first time I saw NFTs, I thought they were. I gamed when I was a teenager, but I wasn't a huge gamer or anything. So it probably took me a bit longer. But for you, was it just instant?
Yeah, it was instant. It was pretty much instant.
Oh my God, yeah.
So my first crypto transaction was 2012 actually.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I wasn't heavily into it. It was just
Yeah.
I was really interested in IT stuff, and I figured out how to get on Silk Road, and a friend of mine wanted to order something on there. So like literally like I I know everybody says that, but I actually helped a friend, to get on there. I never owned a Bitcoin wallet or Bitcoin or anything. I just set it up for him. I bought it for him, etc. That's why I
Yeah.
had none left, unfortunately. But then
Okay.
2017, as the hype cycle came across, I bought the top and lost money on that. And then
Same.
late 2020, and especially early 2021, it kind of hit me again, and I realized like, okay, this time I'm not leaving, because I found things that I was interested in. I found NFTs, and I just figured like, okay, this is actually interesting to me. This is not just graphs and numbers and speculation.
Yeah,
This is
it's more
something that
fun.
connects with something inside of me. So I just
Yeah.
stuck around since then, and I don't think I'm leaving ever. Like it's too interesting. Like why not?
Yeah, 100%.
Best hobby in the world. Like, if you can just do this next to other things.
Sure. So I kind of want to ask you, like, what makes you super excited about Otherside? Like why is it better than well, maybe it's not, but I think it might be. Why do you think it's better than like Sandbox, Decentraland, and maybe even Meta's
Good question. Good
Meta's
question.
Metaverse?
Right. So two things come to mind immediately. One of them would obviously be the M squared tech.
Yeah.
I think that's the right focus, honestly, because this is going to be more interesting in the entertainment aspects, right? This is going to be interesting for concerts, for live streaming, for movies, movie premieres and stuff like that, like digital events. And I think for that, you really cannot underestimate the power of having like not just hundreds, but thousands of people in one place. And I always felt that way, even before I saw some demos or like this pitch, right? I used to play World of Warcraft a little bit when I was a teenager.
Okay.
Well, actually a little bit too much, but it's just a long time ago.
Okay.
And there, some of the strongest experiences that I used to talk about all my life was like, man, you can't realize like 40 people in one spot, fully coordinated on TeamSpeak, doing one thing. Like that was such a strong experience to me. And it never got matched by like a co-op thing or like a multiplayer thing with like, I don't know, 10 players. Fortnite does that too, I guess. I never played that too much, but Fortnite does it too, but it's different because it's PvP, right? You can only team up with 2 or 5 people. World of Warcraft allowed you to have 40 people and coordinate them. And there's just strength in numbers. And especially live streams. If you watch live streams and enjoy live streams, you're going to find that a big part of the experience is the chat, right? And it's not as exciting if there's like 2 people or writing as if there's 200 people writing. It's just more lively.
100%.
So I feel like really these like a big, some of the experiences in the metaverse are clearly going to be better if there's more people involved. That's what I think. That's one of them. Not all of them. I think Sandbox and stuff has its place, but that's one part of it. And secondly, I think they just have the biggest IP. And there's value to that, like all the Marvel movies that come out these days are not as great as the first ones, but it doesn't matter because they have the biggest brand and they have the biggest brand awareness, and people flock to it just because they have the brand, and I think Bored Apes actually, surprisingly, in under a year achieved that. And they have something more than Marvel, I think. They have this like exclusivity and this sexiness associated to it that like a Supreme had a few years ago. And I think you can't undervalue that. I think it's very hard to undervalue that long term. Because if you're gonna build something that defines a new category, well, you're gonna need more than just something that is slightly better, because Facebook will outcompete you. But Facebook will never be, or Meta will never be as cool as the NFT native brand that Bored Apes is. That's what I think. Even if some people hate on it, NFTs are terrible or NFTs are a scam. All those people, even those people would agree that they prefer a Bored Ape metaverse to a Facebook metaverse. So that's 2 big points that are hard to argue with, and that's why I think it's really interesting, and I'm watching it super closely.
Yeah, I think Yuga Labs has the storytelling and kind of as you said, the branding and a bit more imagination. Like I could see potentially older people like the people who wouldn't be in the gaming age that we mentioned earlier, like maybe older people would potentially hang out on Facebook's metaverse, which is probably like they probably won't because they're too old. So yeah, I can really see.
Maybe let me ask you this though, like just imagine like the utopia of this project, of this application, right? It works inside of Google Chrome, on your mobile phone. It's fully open. If you own a land plot, you can host hundreds of people, maybe thousands of people on your land plot. All you need to do is you send out a link, just like you sent me the Zoom link now.
Yeah.
And it would work with people that are not into NFTs, not into games, not into Web3, not into anything digital. I could show it to my grandma, like, grandma, look, like I spent the last 2 weeks building up my clubhouse. There's an experience that I laid out. I want you to experience it. Here you go. Have a look. You know, she would check it out. She has Instagram, you know, she doesn't use it actively or properly, but she YouTubes like her favorite folklore songs and everything, you know. She's good enough to work something when you hand her the phone. I think when it reaches that level and when you're able to like craft experiences that are shareable on mobile devices without a barrier to entry, no wallets, no nothing, just like just a Google Chrome link.
Yeah.
I think at that point you have a real enticing use case if the content is good enough, right? But I mean that's assuming like we have a lot of creatives that are into this, you know, and a lot of creators. And just like they populated YouTube over the last 10 years, if you open up the floodgates to something like this, there's going to be interesting use cases. And once you're able to share those via phone, well, I think that's the real on ramp I believe in, not Coinbase NFT or whatever. That was always like, why should people care more just because there's another platform? You know, that's not going to change anything. You actually need some kind of experience that affects you emotionally to bring people in. And I think that could be cool. First of all, it could be a better way to enjoy live streams. I think that's one of the first use cases, you know, that whole
That's
like
a really
chat experience, having that inside of a 3D world would be very quickly, that could become a better experience than just, you know, seeing the video player with like a chat.
that's a really cool way you frame that. Like like the way YouTube, how it got so big was from the creators. So the way Otherside gets big is from people going on, and the reason people will go on, the reason people went onto YouTube was to make money, like as a creator, or like one of the reasons.
Not
And
initially, but then that's when it blew up, when they really like brought in the 55% revenue share model and everything. Like
and like that would
when
be
it
the
really
same in Otherside in the end. Like
yeah
you'll be able to make money from the other side. I never really thought about it like that. So that's really
yeah
interesting.
they point that out a lot. If you go into well, not a lot, but it's there's mentions of it. If you look into the light paper, they talk about how it's going to be community built and community driven, and all these intro events like the first trip are just supposed to be like their way of showing what's possible. And as even pointed out on Twitter, they want to do like a digital ape fest, and that's just gonna be a use case for a lot of artists. Like, okay, we're doing the show, we know a lot of people can't come, or maybe we had to cancel the Europe shows this summer for whatever reason. Yeah, it's just people are gonna try it out if it's there, I think. And once good creators get on there, then that's when it's gonna start getting interesting. Because right now it's all speculation, you know, like holding a land deed is like, I think in the future, you know, it could open up more possibilities. But then it's actually gonna be like, wait, I actually need it to build out experience that I want to offer to, you know, my subscribers. Or in the case of a musician, I need it to live stream my next show because that's what's expected of me, or that's what the next guy did. And now I feel like you know, I have to keep up. So
and then other people that will be interested in getting involved would also be like, well, do you think big brands will try and purchase a lot of land and create experiences in the other side as well?
Well, I surely hope so. I think it's very much of a stretch to say that will be the case for sure. Because we don't know what the SDK will look like, and we don't know how far they will open it up to builders, right? I mean, I guess we could speculate that you could you could design your own like 3D models and 3D houses and place them on your land. But that's not, I, it's not confirmed, right?
Yeah.
If that's the case, and there's the brand, and there's event, there's the clubhouse, and there's some users, yeah, I think it can turn into something that NFTs were for brands in 2021, where it was like you were kind of forced to do it. You know, everybody was hopping on for all the way from like Nike to Lamborghini.
Yeah.
All the big brands had felt like they needed an NFT play to keep up with the competition. And I would just love for that to happen with like with the other side. It really depends on how much they're going to open up the builder.
Okay.
Sandbox is an interesting one to talk about there because
Sure.
there they actively look for those collaborations, right? In Sandbox,
Yeah.
they look for the celebrity and the brand collabs, and they let them design their own experiences. Um, because Sandbox doesn't really have that proprietary intellectual property, where it's like Bored Apes and the whole aesthetic and the whole storytelling aspect of it. Sandbox is kind of just, you know, a crypto Minecraft, I guess. But
Yeah. Yeah.
there's no
Exactly.
story. There's not a single character that is like, oh, that's the Sandbox guy. So I I wonder how they're gonna tackle that. But I surely hope so, because once a few of them come in, we've seen what happened in the NFT space. Once it becomes trendy and your competition does it, you're forced to do it. And then it's kind of an avalanche. And yeah.
It's also would be potentially like massive advertising opportunity if there's a lot of users in Otherside and you have a plot, you're a Nike, you have a plot near the clubhouse. Yeah, it's advertising opportunities there.
Oh,
So
good point.
yeah, I think we should switch gears because I know most people watching or a lot of people watching are interested in making money in NFTs. So
Oh yeah.
in your opinion, like which Yuga assets, like be it apes, Otherdeeds, codas, just standard, or even ApeCoin, like which out of them would you
All
think,
right.
if you have to invest 10 grand into one, which would you
Okay,
which would
so
you do?
we're talking inside of the Yuga ecosystem, right?
Yeah, maybe first into the Yuga ecosystem and then
Yeah.
maybe after
All
what
right,
else.
it's definitely a good question. So I think there's a big discussion going on, which basically says, okay, their entire marketing focus shifted from, or like their entire communications focus shifted from Bored Apes more to the other side, right?
Yeah.
The VMA video featured codas and not, you know, of course they were apes, but the main feature was the land and the codas. All their communication, all their new releases, the roadmap with the whole like other side obelisk and all the events features like other side stuff. So there's a big conversation, and that decision you have to make for yourself. I don't think there's a clear cut answer
Yeah.
in between. Like, is this like, have they handed out everything that they're gonna do for the Bored Apes? I mean, because there was a lot, right? Like mutants, dogs, ApeCoin, Otherdeeds. Like that's
Yeah. Yeah.
the whole list. Or is it just gonna keep going with everything they're gonna keep adding? Or is the
Yeah.
focus going to be more on like the other side now? I think what's safe to say that the radical growth that you've seen in the past with Bored Apes, you're not going to see again. I don't think there's a 20x or a 50x hidden there. I don't think there's anybody that would, you know, dispute that. Um, but across the board, let me just say what I feel, because all of these things are not, you know, like it's hard to back up like
Yeah.
NFT
Yeah.
investing with like
Very
fundamentals.
uncertain.
It's all yeah, it's very uncertain and narrative driven. But I feel like all of the assets inside the Yuga ecosystem have a pretty balanced risk profile. And what I mean by that is the
Yeah.
upside kind of compares to the downside. It's not one of those like, oh, I'm gonna mint this for 0.06, and you know, if it works out, it's, you know, I'm gonna sell it for half a ETH to one ETH, and or like it's gonna go to zero.
Yeah.
It's more like Bored Apes, if they do extremely well and everything right, they're not going to do another 10x, you know? So I think you're looking at kind of the ultimate blue chip in the NFT space, maybe next to punks. And you have a balanced profile. To answer your question though, what would I go for? Well, for me personally, it's easy because I'm really interested in the whole like other side thing. I would allocate my money towards that, and I would be looking at accumulating a nice collection, a variable collection of different assets. to cover my bases.
Yeah.
I think if you can, it's obviously it's a really good idea to have a coda. It's a really good idea to have different resources. Because we just know so little. You're kind of playing a guessing game. But if I had to pick one asset though, out of all of them, I would pick a mutant. If I had to allocate 10K, I know it's not enough for a mutant, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
I would go for that because they give you a lot of the rights that a Bored Ape gives you with lower downside, lower potential downside. I feel like it's and also they're not as aggressively priced. I believe they're right at 20K right now.
Yeah.
And if there's going to be benefits to the Bored Apes, there's also going to be benefits to the mutants. So if you bet on that, then I think the mutant is the play. And if you think they're going to go all out on the other side and all future airdrops and phases of their storytelling is going to go just towards the other side, then ideally get a coda. Yeah. Or get some cheap land with like a rare resource. I wouldn't get like the floor land.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, those are the two things. So you have to answer the question like, do you believe in the everything into Otherside and the apes are there, but like they got enough narrative, or do you think it's gonna keep going and they're gonna keep delivering things to the apes? And if the answer is A, then get a floor land with like a rare resource, so it's not gonna be floor land, but something close to the floor, or otherwise get a mutant. That's my
really interesting.
I think the big ticket items and the other side are they're just so speculative. Like why, even if you have it like 200 ETH for a mega coda, most people can't afford that first of all. But even if you can, like you just really like what is even a coda? You buy the rarest one, like
or what do you think of the Chaos Land?
That it's the same. It's so interesting though. I mean,
because that was in the trailer there. The wormholes.
Two wormholes popped up, right? Two chaos thing. Yeah, we just don't know anything about it. I wonder, feel like it's really with NFTs when people bought up like the golden apes, even when the floor was rising and everything, right? They knew what they were getting into. It was like, okay, this is a profile picture collection. This is valuable intellectual property. There's a community that I believe in, and I believe in the company behind it or the people behind it, the founders, right? So I'm getting the top 1% piece because I know they're going to deliver and it's going to be valuable. These things are more utility driven though. If the Chaos Land doesn't turn out to be what you hope it is, then, you're screwed. And there's going to be concrete attributes with it, It's not going to be like, this is like top 1% rare, so it's automatically valuable. If the function is not as valuable as the market price right now, the market will adjust. And they're so expensive that it's hard for it to adjust drastically upwards, So I feel like with the rare items, there's a big potential downside and a limited upside. I don't see the Chaos Land, like going to 1,000 ETH, even if it's super crucial to the game, But I think it can easily come back down. So those are very risky. I mean, if you have the money, sure, knock yourself out. But if you're looking to allocate like 10 or 20K, I think, then be careful with the rare ones because once the utility comes and it's not what you expect, the market is going to adjust immediately. So,
I think
I think it's super interesting though. What do you think? What is that going to do with the Chaos Land?
Oh, the Chaos Land. Maybe it is some sort of like, do you think people are going to be able to teleport wherever they want inside the other side, or will they have to go through one of those Chaos Lands? There's probably not enough Chaos Lands.
Good question. So
there's only like 100, isn't there?
Yeah, there's just a few, right? I think it's just, is it like the mega quotas? I believe there's 100. I think you're right with that.
Something like that. I think
yeah, something like that. So
it's because like
okay, so transportation. How's it gonna happen? Let's look at other examples.
That's really important.
Yeah, super crucial parts.
For valuing your land.
The map, like it's huge. Also for valuing. Okay, so we know two things, right? First of all, we know in other metaverses like the Central Land, you're just able to teleport anytime, anywhere, right? You open a map, you click somewhere, you hop there. You want to go to a casino, you go there. You want to go to Gallery 45, you go there. So that's a really convenient way to make it happen. Why would that not be the case? Well, I think there's a few arguments, but one of them would be like a gamified aspect or a more exclusive aspect. Maybe they want to make the other side more exclusive. But I think what's going to end up happen eventually, I think there's definitely going to be the choice. If you're Nike and you buy a piece of land and you build experience, you want everybody to be able to transport there. And I don't think they would use 100 chaos lands to be the only way to like hop across.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right? Because if 101 brands with unlimited budget enter, what's going to happen? Like, you're not going to be able to like hop across the map and use the other side anymore. I think it's more likely that it's going to have a unique feature and a unique aspect to the game, something like super unique. Maybe it's going to be connected to the phase where you're going to have to decide if you want to be on this side or the other side, like the red quotas or the blue quotas and that whole narrative. I think it's going to be very connected there. I mean, we just got the trailer where it's like he went through the portal, went to a different world. We saw that there's red quotas and blue quotas, and one land is like this and the other land is upside down. So I think it's really going to be connected to that. And I do think we're going to get something like teleportation across the different land deeds.
Yeah,
because it would just make a sense. But if you hold a deed, I think you're going to be able to lock it. Like, okay, mine is private. Mine is not accessible. Not everybody can just hop in here and be on my planet. Mine is invite only. Just like I can upload a video, a YouTube video, and be like, okay, private, and only people I send it to see it. Just like that, I think that the same thing is going to be, for the other side.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, because if you can teleport anywhere, then like people are paying crazy money for the center plots, but if you can teleport anywhere, like the center plots, like it doesn't add as much value. But
maybe, do you know how in the first trip they had these platforms that you like ran onto?
Oh yeah, of course,
you jumped across. Maybe it's gonna be that. Maybe like it's gonna be one land plot, a second land plot, and then that's the value, because you could jump directly to the clubhouse and it's gonna be next door. Maybe that's gonna be a mechanic, but again, it's just so early. This is like all speculation, but that could be the case. But yeah, that's a good question. Like, why is the middle part the price that like more than twice the floor price? If there's going to be teleportation all across the thing anyway, what's the value? If you can transport yourself like this to the clubhouse, then why live in the middle? And I'm sure they're going to have some answer to that. I mean, I don't know, unless they're just going to be like, okay, this one went to the Bored Apes. It's going to be easier to identify, you know. It's like with the ENS stuff, right? You can own ENS 3471589, but it's not as valuable as owning 111. You know, maybe that's it.
Yeah. Who knows? It definitely would be a premium anyway, but maybe not as much if you're able to teleport.
Right. If it's full teleportation, then it's probably not worth twice the floor price. That's why I'm saying like the assets that are like on the upper side of the valuations, like just like the biogenic swamp, you're taking way more risk than you need to. If you go closer to the floor, I think you still profit from all the upsides that Otherside provides potentially, you know, like the whole like bull case with like, okay, brands will come in and this will really fly. You're still going to profit from that, but you're limiting your downside if, like, let's say teleportation comes in and then biogenic swamp is maybe not as crazy as you thought it would be.
Yeah, 100%. So
it might be incredible. So don't take me by the word. We're just speculating here. So
yeah, so you would say like get a mix of like nice rare resources, and another thing I don't think a lot of people know is that you'll be able to separate your coda, and you'll also be able to separate, or you will get a separate artifact, and you will be able to get a separate coda. So I think if you can, well, artifacts are only a little bit more expensive than a floor. So if you want to get an artifact, I think most people don't actually know you can separate artifacts. So I got another artifact one recently, just because I think it's probably a little bit like a little bit undervalued.
I'm looking to add one more, and I was looking at artifacts. Have you seen this website? I just discovered this. I discovered this guild, which is like the other guild, and there's
I saw that a while ago.
Yeah, and there's a guy in there. He built like a wiki for Otherside, and it's probably the best. I featured it in my last video.
That's very cool.
The best like resource to like see all the resources in one place. Because if you're trying to go for OpenSea, it's a mess. It's like honestly, it's
absolutely, that's really cool.
That's a cool place to look at the artifacts. But I actually don't have an artefact yet. I feel like that's a cool thing to speculate, because they're closer to the floor, most of them, and you're just gonna get something unique.
Yeah, I think the best way
We don't know though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the best way to go about it is just put a load of offers on stuff, because you're gonna get a hit because there's so many, and someone will be willing to sell for a little bit lower.
Good points. Good point. Especially when ETH is dipping, huh? Just put in
Exactly.
those
Yeah.
offers someone's gonna
Yeah.
bite. Someone's gonna need
Right.
some money.
We only have about 5 or so minutes left, so maybe we'll start wrapping up a bit. So, I think we kind of touched on most of what we wanted to talk about in regards to the other side, unless there's anything else you wanted to mention. Well, I thought if you guys haven't seen Igor's channel and his videos about other side, they're really, really interesting and really deep. Like you're going through the whole trailers, you're looking at the blue liquid that is featured throughout, and the way that could be like energy or something. Is there any other
Yeah.
like maybe do you want to explain those speculations a little bit?
Yeah.
And the fact
there's a
that there's
bunch.
2 sides. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think once you start getting into the nitty-gritty details and you spend 10 minutes looking at a 1-minute trailer, you start picking up on the details. And I don't know, I'm just creating the type of content that I wish was out there. And people say that a lot, but like legitimately, I just search YouTube for like other side speculations, and there's not much.
Yeah.
There's nothing. And I feel like, you know, especially if you're invested, it's like, hell, I want to know everything there is to know. So I try to be that source of like, okay, I look at everything in detail, and I spend time on Twitter and in all these guilds and different discords and dig up all the theories, and then I create content around it. So yeah, one of them is I actually came up with that on the fly while looking while doing the live stream. The fluid, it seems to be something like a mana, like an energy bar, right? Because once he captures it, everything goes crazy because the temple doesn't have the energy in its well in the middle anymore. So it's missing like a essential piece. And then every time he channels his magic, that jump we see in the trailer and all that, he shines bright blue, right? Like so it's some kind of like energy or mana, as gamers would refer to it. I mean, what can you do with that info? I don't know. It's just, you know,
yeah, it doesn't seem to be.
We don't know, but when the next phase releases, this might just be a piece of information that makes something click, and you might just make a better investment decision because of it. I think it's just good to consider these things and to talk about them, and to rather ignore it than just go in blind and be like, okay, let me just buy a floor piece, you know?
Yeah. And then the other speculation is that like everyone's going to be
the two sides.
Everyone's going to be airdropped another land piece, or it's kind of hard to know.
So we know that in the obelisk, which is their release schedule for the whole other side, there's going to be this phase where you're going to have to pick a side. They state that in the obelisk. And a lot of people first thought you're going to have to pick a side for Kodas, but it's for everyone, right? So every other deed holder is going to have to pick a side. And the whole concept, the whole name is Otherside. And the logo is Otherside, and then Otherside just upside down. Yeah. So they're kind of suggesting there's going to be two sides. And then one event close to the end of the release, you're going to have to pick one of those. And in this trailer, for the first time, we actually got some concrete visuals that support this. When you look at the big board with like all the pictures of the Kodas and the artwork, some of them are blue, and it's all the sediments we know right now. And some of them are red, and every single one of the red ones is, first of all, different Kodas. And secondly, they're upside down. So you can see it very clearly in the trailer when you look at the live stream or the trailer. They're upside down. That means, and the sediments and the ones that are upside down are new sediments. So it's land that has not been introduced yet. So now there's two options. But my theory is, and this is, I think, I didn't hear this. This is like purely my theory. Some people speculated that, I go through it in the stream live. Some people speculated that there's going to be another 100,000 lands, which is for sure. And most people think that, you know, because there's going to be another 100,000 lands, supply is going to double. But what I think it's rather going to be, it's like a burn mechanism where you have to burn your lands to join the other side. That means the total supply is going to be 200K, but the circulating supply is only going to be 100K. Because to enter the other, you can't be on both sides, right? That kind of just makes sense to me. Like, why would you be able to join the red side and the blue side at the same time? I think if you join the other side, you're going to have to give up your citizenship on this side. Your sediment is going to change. Your quota is going to change. Everything is going to change. Maybe you're not going to be able to interact with the blue side. Who knows? We don't know those details. But I think it's more likely that, yes, the total supply is going to be 200K, but there's only going to be 100K circulating. And I think that would make a lot of sense because right now, everybody thinks the supply is going to double and it's priced in. That's why the floor is 1.8 ETH right now. So
Yeah.
that's a big deal. If that's the case, in theory, it should double. And if it doesn't double, it's at least going to get close to that because everybody right now, everybody and their grandma is expecting the supply to double. So yeah, I don't know, that's one of those more relevant speculations. If you believe it. I think it's a possibility. It's not for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's a very real possibility. And if you read through all the materials again with that in mind, there, you can see the breadcrumbs they laid out inside of the light paper, inside of the obelisk, inside of the trailer. It would make sense. Doesn't mean it's gonna be like that for sure, but that's a big one if that speculation turns out to be true. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Igor. It was great to chat with you. It was great to meet you. And I'll link all your Twitter, your YouTube in the notes and all the videos that were relevant to this. So
nice to meet you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, maybe we could do it again. There's definitely more questions I wanted to get through with you, but kind of running out of time here. Awesome. So thanks a million, and yeah, catch you soon.
Thanks, man. Have a good one.
All right. Cheers, Igor. Talk to you later.